Hello, my name is Brian Casey, editor-in-chief of AmpMini.com. We're here at the RSNA 2019 meeting in Chicago. We have with us today Luke Bideaux. He is the principal of Vega Imaging Informatics. Luke, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks, Brian, for having me.
Yeah. So, Luke, you've been here at RSNA looking, focusing in particular on enterprise imaging, and so that's been quite a buzz here at the meeting. Can you talk a little bit about what you're seeing?
Sure. So, there has been a lot of buzz about enterprise imaging, and part of that's because there's really been a lot of improvements in this area. And unfortunately, there's also been a lot of just creative marketing and kind of rebranding of old solutions without any real improvements on their design or functionality. So, from a provider's perspective, it's really important to understand enterprise imaging, understand what your organization's plan is, so that you can deploy the appropriate technology and processes to be successful in this area.
Yeah. So when we're talking about enterprise imaging, we're talking about um, the use of medical images just across an entire healthcare enterprise.
That's correct. So, you know, you got to look across the entire enterprise for all the imaging that's performed and exchanged. And then you got to have that organized plan to make sure that that imaging data is really taken care of and made available in the system to providers.
Yeah. So you've come up with a concept called the four pillars of enterprise imaging. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So my four pillars of enterprise imaging really it starts with demonstrating compliance, and we're talking about compliance to state and federal laws, um, accreditation requirements, payer requirements. We have the HIPAA privacy and security rules to comply with. We also have internal policies and procedures to be aware of. So a lot of things to consider. And as we look at all of the imaging that's performed and exchanged across the enterprise, how are we doing in terms of compliance? Are we retaining our images as we need to? Are we securing them as we should? If we're finding problems in this area, it really should be a number one priority to address.
All right. So what is the second pillar of enterprise imaging?
So the second one, it needs to focus on how we can improve the quality of patient care. And in order to do that, we need to provide a complete view of that patient's clinical history, including imaging data. Now, in order to do that, in order to go to these different locations and departments, it's going to require some flexibility. Different departments, different locations are going to have different needs. They might have different acquisition workflows, different reporting workflows, different viewing workflows. So the solutions need to be flexible. At the same time, there really needs to be a conformance to certain standards. For instance, no matter where that imaging is performed, we're going to make sure that the imaging is stored in our enterprise imaging archive and made available in the system.
Okay. Now the third pillar?
The third pillar is about maximizing revenue and minimizing costs. So it's important to have that found financial strategy as part of this. And many organizations are looking to consolidate systems and save money that way, or find ways to improve workflow efficiencies to find some cost savings. It's amazing to me that there's still some opportunities that are being missed in terms of increasing revenue in medical imaging. There's departments that are performing medical imaging exams, but they're unable to bill because they're not able to meet the payer requirement of storing those images long term.
Yes.
So some organizations are finding ways to use enterprise imaging to increase net revenues, and others are kind of missing out in this area.
Okay. And then what's our fourth and final pillar of enterprise imaging?
So the fourth pillar deals with supporting artificial intelligence. There's been a lot of buzz about AI, and we're starting to see some practical implementations of it. So it's important that AI be a component of that enterprise imaging strategy. There's many different variations of AI technology. You have tools to help with image interpretation, workflow tools, business analytics tools. So if you can create that AI roadmap, prioritize it based on value, and find ways to integrate that technology in a way that's conducive to workflow efficiency, I think AI can be a real positive impact on your imaging practice today and also into the future.
Great. Awesome. Well, that's a great overview. Thanks, Luke, for being with us.
Thanks for having me, Brian.
All right. Signing off for AmpMini.com. My name is Brian Casey.